see, consciousness at its core is about understanding the interconnectivity of things. That every decision we make has an effect on things beyond us. What happens in one place can affect something completely around the globe. Part of a whole interconnected system. What's happening in one place in the body does affect what happens throughout the entire body. Choices we make in this moment will affect the circumstances of people yet to come. Choices previously made have affected us. What makes a conscious person do unconscious things? It's usually more like this. You learn that there's a reason for something to change in the world, something that you should avoid doing, but then you do it anyway. Through self-awareness, one is able to improve or make changes to themselves. Talking about positive. Your mirror neurons fired, almost as if it was you catching the marker. We're actually wired to see ourselves in each other. So, what does positivity really have to do with being conscious? There's a way we can be when we're practicing consciousness or trying to stay woke that's positive in a way that is negative. People on the side of what is morally or ethically good are quite often negative. And yes, this means you. We're talking about positive. Clear, conclusive, confident, optimistic, absolute, affirmative, convinced. For negative movement to become positive, it has to sidestep being neutralized, being neutralized, being neutralized, being neutralized. And there's the secret of positive and negative. You don't have to oppose anything. You don't have to be anti-anything. What you need to be is pro something. And as conscious beings, that thing is called a vision.
Wait.
What just happened?
Do you remember what happened? We were out.
We were all out.
And we saw something happening. We were watching it. A show.
A show?
An act.
It was a show.
A hypnotist. It was a show that was hypnotizing people. Making people do things unconsciously. One of those hypnotizing shows.
Remember?
We watched it for a while.
It was very captivating.
It put people on
Stage.
It put people on stage.
Regular people.
Everyday people like you and me.
We need a volunteer.
And then you went up there with the hypnotist because why not? It was a show.
You saw what's going on. You were watching it.
And like you said,
Remember what you said?
you said, it's not gonna work on me. Do you remember anything before that? So it's 2020 and the world is finally woke, huh? Well, great. Now how do we make it last? This should be our question, right? I mean, it should be the question on everybody's mind. By definition, if we are woke, there probably is a chance we could fall back asleep, right? And how do we really know if we're woke anyhow? Something strange is happening here. And it's been happening for a while. Has something been cut out from our collective consciousness? Something being left on the edit room floor? Have you noticed that things once deemed important aren't anymore? But you don't recall making that call. We're aware of something and then unaware. We deeply care about something and then no one cares. Or something within our grasp gets taken, moved like it was never there. How did we get here? Yeah, something strange is happening. Could it be our real sickness is just being made clear? The sickness is that we keep losing consciousness in society. And this is the number one point of this week's lesson, this entire course, the reason we've spent time together, and the reason that we've spent time apart, to bring this point into focus for us. The CUREiculum was created to propose a framework to understand how to stay woke, to find a way to sustain your consciousness. And it's based on the theory that when we look at everything about the world, history, science, our current paradigm and behavior, it's actually all very predictable. And in fact, it has been predicted. So if you've been watching, it won't be new. Just to review, the last word in practice for our test. So take notes. On previous classes, we ended with a phrase, onward and upward. What does this mean? Well, when you look it up, the phrase is used as a salutation, saying we're going toward a better condition or a higher level. And if you didn't know that or never looked it up, that's cool. But here's something you probably should have looked up by now. The word cure, as in the title, the CUREiculum. What does cure mean? Cure. It's an important word to know. After all, it's been at the core of what this class has been all about. So before we go any further, think of someone or something you would label as conscious and or woke. And as you meditate on that, let's look back. Just try what's not the same. So just try what's not the same. Come on, get together. Let's go against the grain. That's right. You want to dance? That's far more important, superior. It was this. That was just this old thing I wrote, and here. Why don't I just share it with you? It goes back a couple of years. Here.
Are we displaying in vain? You think we playing? We're not. See what they saying, this man. We encouraging with thought to just try. What's not the saying? Come on, get together, let's go against the grain. Come on, get together, let's go against the grain.
A long time ago, I thought I knew what it was to be conscious.
Come on, let's go against the grain.
What it sounded like, looked like, what it did or didn't do, and why. From my view, the images and ideas that were often glorified were also often very self-destructive. Therefore, I wanted to heal the culture with my music, and so my mission, or so I believed, was to go against everything that's unconscious.
If every line and every verse conceived as separate entities rallying, hit you harder probably than it's meant to, then this would be the epiphany, waking you in the AM, making you tune out the beat and question what rappers saying. In the same vein, I have no choice but to exploit your first glance, cause you're not listening to my voice. Nah, you wanna dance, that's far more important, superior, invest in lyrical callings of distress.
Now people would claim I don't really listen to the lyrics when it comes to popular music.
Thus we learn to place flow before the content, or we're like a song and no one even rhymed yet, or we're buying album, love 'em, shout 'em is our favorite, we'll play it, then discover what of conflicted mindsets.
but the media promoted mainly reckless content, and socially aware artists were sidelined.
How can we avoid supporting those we don't condone? More important, taking what they're distorting is our own. Contaminated with what they're not sorting, breaking what's been unbroken. A token of what's playing in our home, with no interpretation, with no explanation. For the juvenile whose mind may be set on imitating, which is why I suggest that you invest in consciousness. Prophets can mold experience to means of elevating yo.
So this was my perspective of popular music and how I fit into it over 2 decades ago.
Which is why I suggest that you invest in consciousness. Prophets can mold experience to means of elevating.
Now, why did I want to share this? Because yes, there's still some ideas in it I still hold to today. Namely, that the music we listen to, as well as other media, play a huge role in that issue of why we lose consciousness. But with time, I've come to see things a little bit differently. In fact, this was the last song I would write against the unconsciousness in popular music. And the reason I stopped has to do with what we discussed this semester. In our past 11 lessons, we've broken down how to look at being socially conscious. So let's look back again. In each of these videos and lessons, I've unpacked for you a concept or point. And I just told you this week's point, so now we're at 12. These 12 points are to be kept in mind as a remedy for our unconsciousness. Point number 1, consciousness, or being woke, is rarely understood and sustained within our society. And this is evident as we look back through history. And all the way up to this moment right now, we don't stay woke. Almost like we're hypnotized. Point number 2, we gain insight of what it means to be woke or conscious from studying history, individuals, and observable phenomena. Just for the record, the more recent cultural appropriation of the term woke to describe political policies or a group affiliation, that's not what we're talking about here. Point number 3, at its core, consciousness has to do with an awareness of the interconnectivity of things in the world and the predictable patterns they present. So that awareness being of everything from biology or how our body functions, how nature functions, laws of physics, politics, economics, etc., etc. You get it? Alright. And it's going to be hard to stay conscious if you're not serious about studying these things. Point number 4. One is being conscious when they are aware of the predictable outcomes of their actions on someone, something, somewhere, and or some time other than their own. So basically, I'm conscious because I know what's happening and what can happen. And because of this, the CUREiculum proposes point number 5. Social order and social change can be viewed within a framework of positive, negative, and neutral agents. This is the CUREiculum's framework and the basis for understanding everything that we discuss. Point number 6. Being positive is not necessarily a good thing morally, but it is the most stable and dominant state from which one can engage within the world or status quo. It's not a moral concept. It has to do with the principle of being positive and what we know that means, which is reflected by point number 7. Being negative is not necessarily a bad thing morally. Rather, it is the unstable, weak, and easily manipulated state many conscious people are in. And we know this to be true because point number 8, as someone learns the world's interconnectedness, becoming more conscious, they often uncover disturbing or upsetting aspects of society that they want to negate, thusly becoming negative. This reaction is natural, which leads us to point number 9. Agents of the status quo must neutralize, make neutral, or antagonize, make negative, people in order to maintain the current structure and order. These positions are weaker and easier to control. Point number 10, socially conscious people and movements are often neutralized by positive agents that are aware of basic human behavior, our character, feelings, motives, and desires. And we see this being done with the manipulation of propaganda, drugs, technologies, so on and so on. So, point number 11. A conscious person must transcend being neutralized when engaging with their reality, and instead become protagonized. And lastly, point number 12.
What does it mean to be protagonized?
The protagonized person is conscious and positive by committing to a set of beliefs that affirm their goal as achievable while endorsing what they are for rather than what they are against. With this approach, a new paradigm may emerge based on the beliefs of the conscious and positive. These are the 12 foundational points of the curriculum. Each point we use scientific evidence and research to back up, with the class references in the description box. And this summarizes our first semester. So if anything is unclear, just go back and check out a previous week, or just do that anyhow. Now, what's someone or something you'd label as conscious or woke? What came to mind? Was it an activity, a popular figure, a moment in history, something you heard about through word of mouth, or something you study, something seen like a reference? Could be it's your preference of an example of a model that you follow with some sort of reverence. What is it? What does it look like? Who or what qualifies? What is it? What it look like? Who or what qualifies? Is it some information? Someone you've known? A friend? Some type of knowledge? Something, some sort of charity?
What does it look like?
A political movement? Hairstyle? What it look like? Lifestyle? Something you're supposed to do
Or don't do?
What does it look like? Styles of fashion, artists, music, a leader, or even a teacher. What does it look like to you? Conscious, woke. When you visualize it, I probably could relate to it. But I have to say, I also probably disagree. You haven't seen anyone or anything that's conscious. Okay, all right, I mean not fully conscious. Reconsider what you labeled. Without full awareness of how everything is interconnected, even this thing or person holds some blind spots. They're outcomes that it can't or couldn't predict. And yet, we use this label, presuming that it, in theory, describes something that's striving to be aware of some other things. Being conscious is something that we can practice. It's not something we've accomplished, and it tells us that we're a small part of a whole big picture. And just to keep it a buck, when you practice consciousness, you're not fully yourself. You're humbled by the limited scope of your own awareness. After all, to really be conscious of how all things are interconnected, one would have to be outside of time and space. And this is the crux of what we'll discuss next semester. Now, if you made it this far and you want to go even further, like, subscribe, and get notified. And before the semester gets kicked out of your short-term memory, we need to apply it to what it is we already know. So, are you ready for your test? Your test has been happening outside of this course and inside of it too. So if you've been paying attention all the way through, I know you're ready, because you're clear, conclusive, confident, optimistic, absolute, affirmative, convinced that you got this, and you're positive. Now you may have to pause a bit. Oh, and grab a pen. Copy that. These model students know Roger that. It's on the nose, so books close. I'll be giving you a hypothetical incident. You give me the principle that best fits with it. Is this an agent, a positive, neutral, negative, whichever you say it is? In the current paradigm, try to stay conscious. This is not a sedative. Maintain your calmness. This is not competitive. Question 1, say the world shut down a couple weeks. Everything feels unstable, tense, the future's bleak. Then a string of black folks get killed, some by police. Then our news feed gets heated. We up and take to the streets. Are we positive? Are we neutral? Are we negative? What you say it is. Question 2, you're getting your money, putting in work. Do whatever the request they ask, though it could hurt. Are you positive? Are you neutral? Are you negative? What you say it is. Question 3, a Fortune 500 corporation, you're the CEO. You see protests, give a donation to make them positive, or make them neutral, or to make them negative. Which one you say it is? Question 4, you label the voice of a generation, major pop artist who mostly sings about your relationships and popping bottles and club hopping and product placement. Then you credit Malcolm X as your #1 inspiration cause you're positive. Are you neutral? Are you negative? What you say it is. Question 5, I learned about the signs of a genocide and decide to preach out somebody don't want us alive. Now is that positive? Is that neutral? Is that negative? What you say it is. Question 6, she has this belief of love your neighbor as yourself, has no time to gossip on no one else. Is she positive? Is she neutral? Is she negative? What you say, what you say. Question 7, she like watching tabloids and drama, he like just watching the game making mad noise. Now are they both positive? Are they neutral? Are they negative? What you? Question 8, out on a date to see a flick about a past radical figure whose image has been rejiggered. Recently the studio greenlit this major motion picture long as it depicts the hanging, raping, banging. Is it meant to make us positive? A film to make us neutral? Is it to make us negative? What you say it is. Question 9, oh, they gave them a national holiday. Is it positive? Is it neutral? Is the holiday negative? What you say it is. Question 10, you say and do whatever you want to, all the time. Or just at parties, or only after school, or after work, or when you're with friends, or when you're by yourself. You'll do and say what you want to. Is that conscious or not? Leave your answers in the comment section, and I'll give you feedback. And for all those who took the ride this semester, thank you. I look forward to seeing you next semester.
I'm Uncle Baye, onward and upward and to the right.